Hi there, it's Maritz from talkaboutwealth.co.za, and a lot of the time I see clients, I find that I explain and educate a lot in terms of concept of risk in terms of the investment industry. And the reason why this happens is that when an investor looks at investing capital, generally the two things that are most at the forefront of their minds are costs and return. And the reasons for this are quite simple and obvious, but risk is such an important aspect that we find that we spend a lot of time on it and a lot of time explaining it. Also because it actually encompasses a large number of factors, whereas return can be expressed as one or two functions of the investment, and cost is cost at the end of the day. Risk can be associated with traditional concepts as well as underlying factors that are involved as well. Now, the traditional definition of risk in the investment industry is either expressed as the chances of you losing part of your capital, or as volatility, whereas the sort of more non-traditional versions are those things that you don't often see. So the hidden enemy, which is inflation, which we'll be spending a lot of time on in other episodes in the series. But obviously also the risk of not meeting your goals, your objectives, because you're going into the wrong strategies, taking on the wrong styles, allowing your behavior to influence decisions that don't necessarily meet your needs. And obviously, getting advice is such an important part of it. But if you are investing money, the first thing obviously to consider is, what are your objectives? And in terms of those objectives, what do your return goals need to be? And once you've worked that out, looking at things like time horizon, structures, tax, obviously come in as well. But those first few things actually determine 80% of what you need to be in terms of your risk. Return is a huge factor of risk. It plays an important role. When you look at risk and return, and we will spend time on the relationship between the two in terms of the efficient frontier and the payoff between going higher up the return curve later in the series. But when you look at a higher amount of risk, you can generally expect a higher return, but it also does come down to where you're investing the money. Risk for risk is a waste of time, and you need to make sure that whoever's managing your money, when they take on that risk, that they're giving you a return which is the best return they can give you for that risk. The other thing which is important to understand, we touched on inflation, but going towards the two extremes, if you put all your money into equity, which is generally the highest risk that an average investor could get, you're taking on a large amount of volatility. Over time, I think over the last 40 years, you could have experienced about 14% a year in return, which is great. But in a shorter space of time, when looking at time horizon becomes important, equity is also the most volatile. You could have lost up to 40% of your portfolio in 2008, but between 2002 and 2006, you could have made that every year. So it's important to take those things into account when looking at one extreme. The other extreme is the sort of cash under a mattress scenario, where you're very, very conservative, or you're very unsure, very short time horizon, and you put all of your money into cash, into money market. Now, money market at the moment, the bad ones are giving you about 3.5%, the good ones are giving you about 4.5%, maybe even 5%. But either way, you are losing money, and the reason for that is inflation, and people don't consider that. People think, okay, I'm going to put money into money market, I'm going to get 5%, and I'll use that to manage my lifestyle in retirement. And unfortunately, if you do that in a 6% inflation scenario, in 12 years' time, you've halved your capital. It might still be that million rand or that 10 million rand that you've put into money market, but at the end of the day, it's going to be worth 500,000 or 5 million rand, because the purchasing power of that capital has decreased, and that is a huge risk that people don't often foresee or don't understand when they draw out their interest. You need to leave some there for inflation. And obviously, this is just a sort of general overview on the concept, but these factors will be investigated further. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the section below. Please visit the website to get in touch if you want to have a chat about anything to do with this. And please like and subscribe the video, and we'll chat again later.